Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in the Quran summaries by Muhammad Asad, and we are busy with Surah number 7, known as chapter Al-Araf. Al-Araf, right? It is primarily a verse, a chapter that was revealed in Mecca. It is the Meccan period, right? The title of the surah, the title of this chapter, is based on an expression which occurs in verses 46 and verse 48. According to most of the authorities, and particularly Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, the whole of Surah Al-Araf or Araf was revealed shortly before the previous surah, that is in the last year of the Prophet ﷺ's stay in Mecca before the Hijrah. The assertion of As-Sayyuti and some other scholars to the effect that verses 163 to 171 belong to the Medina period does not have much weight to it. Although in the chronological order of revelation, Surah Al-Araf precedes the 6th Surah, it has been placed after the 6th Surah because it elaborates the theme outlined therein. After the exposition of God's oneness, once again the Surah continuously emphasizes Tawheed, that there is only one God, and the uniqueness of God constitutes the main theme of the surah as well as the previous surah, surah number 6. Al-Araf proceeds with a reference to revelation as a means by which God communicates His will, the divine will, to mankind, to humanity. In other words, to the mission of the prophets, the messengers that have come throughout the ages. God in His mercy has sent 124,000 messengers, of which 25 are mentioned in the Quran. The need for continued prophetic guidance arises from the fact of man's weakness and his readiness to follow every temptation that appeals to his appetites, his vanity, or his mistaken sense of self-interest, and this essential aspect of the human condition is illustrated in the allegory of Adam and Eve and their fall from grace, which we see in verses 19 to 25. I'm having a bit of a problem with my lighting, but as long as you can hear my voice, that is fine. Without the guidance which God offers man through His prophets, the right way cannot be found, and therefore unto those who give the lie to our messages and scorn them in their pride, the gates of heaven shall not be opened, as we see in verse number 40. Then from verse number 59 onwards, most of the surah is devoted to the histories of some of the earlier prophets and whose warnings were rejected by the people. The prophets all came with the same message, Tawheed, that there is only one creator. And some of the earlier messengers that we're looking at and their people are people such as the prophet Noah, continuing with Hud alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam, Hud alayhi salam, Salih, Lot and Shu'aib, peace and blessing be upon all of them, and culminating in a lengthy account of Shu'aib's son-in-law, Moses, peace and blessings be upon him, and his experiences with the children of Israel. Then further, from verse 172 onwards, the discourse reverts to the complex psychology of mankind, the complex psychology of human beings, men and women, the instinctive ability to perceive God's existence and oneness, and to what happens to him to whom God vouchsafes His message and who then discards them. Satan then catches up with him, Satan or Shaitan or the devil then catches up with him, and thereby the erring human being then strays, like so many others, into grievous error, as is shown in verse 175. This brings us to God's final message, the Quran, and to the role of the last prophet, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, as we see in verse 188, which says, and I quote, He is nothing but a warner and a heralder of glad tidings. The Prophet ﷺ cannot force anyone to embrace the deen. He is simply giving good news and a warner. And he is never too proud to worship the Creator, as we see in verse 206. Stay well, look after yourself. Join me in the next episode when we'll continue with these surah summaries, the English translation and commentary by Muhammad Asad. And as what we mentioned at the introduction, this is more of a bit on an academic level of the translation and commentary of the Quran. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.